Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. Can everybody stand for the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. McEnroe?
For roll call, Ms. Arendt,
Here.
Mr. Caligiuri,
Here.
Mr. Hill is not attending this evening, Ms. Hyde,
Here.
Mrs. Klippa,
Here.
Dr. Richardson,
Here.
Mr. Sloan,
Here.
Mrs. Stepnick, Mr. Strauke,
Here.
and Student Representative Ms. Naomi Casey.
Here. The board met in executive session on January 13th to discuss matters of litigation, safety, personnel, and real estate. And we'll start with citizens' comments.
If anybody in the audience would like to make comments at this time, we ask that you step to the podium one at a time, state your name, that you're a resident within Plum. You'll be provided 3 minutes to speak to the board. It's just a reminder that this is a time to share your ideas, comments, concerns with the board rather than a question and answer session with the board. I will put up a timer on the monitor so you can monitor your own time as well, and then I'll give you a 30-second warning when your time is coming to a close. When you're finished, please step to the clipboard at the end of this table and write your name there for me so I can spell it correctly in the minutes. Is there anybody that would like to speak at this time? Okay, back to you.
Okay. Academic, Student Services, and Inclusion, myself, lead board liaison. So for A, we have grants and donations 1 through 5. 5 being the Plum Mustang Foundation donations totaling $7,430. Those are A through K. Any questions, discussion on those? We have 5 to move that forward? Okay. B, we have this 2026-2027 Code of Conduct and summary of changes. So I'll turn that over to Dr. Boyers. We're going to have lots of presentations today.
Yes, Dr. Richardson, we do. It's an exciting time in the Plum Borough School District. This evening, many presentations will come forward, such as the Code of Conduct, the Parent-Student Handbook, and our program of studies that really set the trajectory for the 26-27 school year. We talk about an organization based on the continuous improvement, and I think you'll see those opportunities emerge this evening in an effort to close gaps and provide better experiences for our students and our families. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Zarmak. He has took over leadership of our Code of Conduct and working with our administrative team and our educators, and this evening he will present the Code of Conduct and the respective changes.
Good evening. Like Dr. Boyer said, we're always looking to improve, and through the Code of Conduct, for the new board members also, it is a K-12 approach for consistency throughout the organization. This year, through speaking with students, staff, and as administrators, there's a few items that we elected to update for consistency. The first one is on page 8, and it just said, it was starting to talk about early dismissals for appointments, and it said only for emergencies, which we were changing to when possible. We understand that for families it's tough to do, so we changed that, except in case of emergencies, to when is possible. The 10th one, or I'm sorry, on page 10, with the chain of command, a lot of times when parents are calling or there's questions throughout the organization, to provide consistency, we want everybody to follow the chain of command, so we're going to add something in there that if you do skip some steps that you're referred back, just so everybody's on the same page going through, and that way people understand that, and hopefully they read that too and they review it and sign off. And the last thing was for the high school parking passes. It stated whenever the passes go on sale at the beginning of the school year, this past school year that was changed. Actually, they revised that. The kids get those in the summertime now, so we eliminated at the start of the school year. And we didn't put any date in there. That way it gives the high school a little bit of flexibility as far as their planning and preparation throughout the summer as well. But those are the changes that we proposed this school year.
Any questions or discussion on the code of conduct?
Dr. Richardson, I do have a question about the parking passes in particular. I have a hard time with the high school. They're sold out in 5 minutes. Not everybody was fully honest on their forms. And we don't offer or set aside, maybe a dozen passes or half a dozen passes for those kids that may have a job and get their license throughout the school year. Maybe they get the license and they participate in a sport and that's their way home. They're just told, no, sorry for your luck. I would like to see a more fair and equitable thing, and I appreciate, Dr. Tarmac, your ability to say flexibility with the high school, but I think the high school needs to rethink how they do that to some level. And how that's communicated. I think there's some hard lessons that are learned and opportunities for growth from what transpired this last summer.
Ms. Stepnick, I'll give you some background. For our purposes for the code of conduct, we just want to make sure that we're laying the groundwork for protocols in regards to how we're going to operate. Everything you just shared about parking at the high school, those are ongoing conversations that we are currently having in regards to maybe expanding student parking and providing additional opportunities. I know Mr. Sarita and his team are working on that to maybe expand opportunities for our students. Part of the challenge was that he came into the position and a lot of the groundwork was set months before. And he's been working not only with the faculty and staff, but with our students and listening to their feedback. So I know recommendations will be coming forward in regards to the concern that you just mentioned.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, do we have 5 to move that forward?
Perfect timing. I didn't realize that. The next is for the program of study updates at the middle school. We didn't have any course updates this school year. We did update it to reflect the portrait of the graduate on page 2 in that language. Our principal message from Mrs. Littleman and I is updated along with our vision, mission, and beliefs. And then our staff pictures, our scheduling timeline. The scheduling timeline is in there for everybody. We will be reviewing that with our students and sending out information to our families. It is not always well attended. We want to try to increase the attendance this year and the understanding for those 6th graders coming into 7th grade. We'll also have opportunities for the high school counselors to meet with those 8th graders as well, and that's all documented in there. And then that's pretty much it. We just updated the photos otherwise and some quotes throughout. We want to get some new quotes in there for the kids as well. Any questions on that?
Okay, do we have 5 to move that one forward?
As we're transitioning from middle school to high school, I think I would take a moment when Mr. Sarita is making his way to the podium. That you're going to notice with our program of studies that there's not any significant changes that are being recommended this year. And I think if you look at the end of one of the presentations of reimagining secondary education, that will have ripples not only through the high school but into the middle school as we go into next year. So one of the conversations we're having is we're looking at more electives at the middle level for our students. So change is good, and I think a lot of what you're seeing is maintaining our current course with an eye on the future as we go later into the presentation. So Mr. Sarita, it's all yours.
Good evening, members of the school board. I just want to thank you all for taking the time. I know that you've had access to this document, and I appreciate the feedback that I've received, and it's going to go into this presentation. But this was not a Steven Sarita program of studies. This is a high school program of studies. So the people you see behind me, Ms. Pegger, Mr. Lazaro, Ms. Bell, Mr. Chisky, Ms. Moran, we got Mr. Jasper, we have Mr. Deleuze and Ms. Piper, and we just,
Don't forget Miss
sorry. I can't believe I forgot Ms. McPherson. And Ms. McPherson, this was a huge effort, and we also utilized our student voice as well. And so everything on here, you know, this is extremely exciting for us, but everything on here is all changes that came from the group, and I'm going to highlight just kind of the ones that are, I'm going to highlight a few of them. The PSMLA, the Global Scholars Program, that stands for Pennsylvania State Modern Language Association. Next year, we're going to be starting with the incoming freshmen. And those students that are really interested in foreign language, they will have an opportunity over 4 years to participate in different types of extracurricular activities. They will be required to participate in community service and also do literature and media reviews if they choose to be a part of this program. And then they'll also be recognized at graduation with an honors cord as they are then designated a global scholar, and that will start with the incoming freshmen. Another exciting thing that is highlighted on that change document is the Daktronics. I know all of you know that we got those 2 new boards in our school, in the gym and at the field. And that Daktronics brand is across the country in universities. I've even seen it on the Turnpike, I believe. And so this classroom, this DAC classroom that's going to be headed up by Miss Weber, who is unable to be here tonight due to a broken ankle. But she's going to be, she's really excited about this curriculum that we're going to be doing, because kids are going to get an opportunity to experience how to create marketing and advertising and things of that nature. And then they also will be running our scoreboards during our home games. They already started it this year with the Powder Puff and at some of our basketball games. So it's really exciting to see that. The other big thing on there is the weighted grades. And so this is very exciting for us. It's a shift, but it's something that we've been doing for quite some time. Even if teachers didn't realize they were doing it, they knew they were, a lot of them were doing it. But we are moving to a school-wide system, and it creates consistency for the teachers. It creates consistency for the parents, that we can speak to. Okay, at Plum Senior High School, 60% of a student's grade is an assessment grade, 20% is classwork, and 10%, for example, is homework. And what that also does is allow clear communication from the teachers to the students. And it also will, that communication to the students will allow them, because I believe, and we believe, that they deserve to know where they stand academically at all times. And I think that we believe that when students know that, they are more they're more in tune with their educational experience. And so I don't want to get hung up on this, but like assessments, for example, can be things such as, we all know standardized tests, quizzes, but that also can look like bell ringers when kids walk in the room. It can look like labs, papers, projects. So it really gives all students, it allows all students access to assessment and to demonstrate mastery in various ways. The last thing that I'm going to highlight is the arts. Personally, the arts are a major passion for myself, but professionally even more, because kids have passions of the arts, whether that be music, band, orchestra, or different art classes, sculpture. And kids should be able to, in our opinion, continue that passion. And while they go up the different levels of classes, they should receive honors credit for that. And so we are adding this coming school year, and this was inspired by one of our very own students, actually, sitting at your table. But we are adding those honors orchestra, honors band and honors choir to allow students to pursue the honors work and receive honors credit for it, and not have to necessarily take another honors class or an AP course for their GPA.
Mr. Serena, you know, I heard and I can see very clearly the collaborative effort that you've undertaken with the faculty having a strong voice. But I also heard you mention our students have a strong voice also. And with our student representative sitting to my left, kind of curious of what was just said, what your thoughts are. You're a senior, you've been there, done that. And is there anything you would feel comfortable adding to the conversation?
Of course, yes. First of all, I'd like to preface this by saying thank you to everyone who's taking the time to review these things and making this course better for our students, because I think that just kind of, it's very encouraging to see like the adults and students' lives caring about the future of the students. But for me personally, dropping music was never going to be an option for me. And I know so many people, like so many of my friends were like that. It was never like, well, I guess that's the solution. They were always trying to find new ways to like include what their passion was. So oftentimes their GPA suffered because of what they couldn't take instead. Even if like you didn't want to have your GPA drop because you were in band, you wanted to be in band. So it's difficult, and only seniors could have that honors credit and do the work. But several students in sophomore and junior year do the work of the honors, like that earns you the honors credit for that class. So I think allowing those students to receive that credit encourages and boosts the music department, because it keeps students in the classes they want to be in and rewards them with the GPA that they deserve. And speaking personally for me, GPA doesn't really like totally, like that shouldn't be your driving force, but colleges do, you know, they look at GPA, and all students know that, and it's always in the back of their minds. And if this had happened for me personally, that would have been amazing for me, like for a number of reasons. But there were scholarships, you know, that I could have received had I gotten the honors credit. So I think it would just be great for students to get that going forward if they're doing the work. So
a step in the right direction.
Definitely.
So I can't think of a better segue as I see Mr. DeLuce walking up to the podium to our department leader for fine arts. If you want to continue on.
Everything she just said is absolutely true. No, she's a pleasure to work with every day. And I did prepare a little. It's been a very long day of rehearsals, and I'm kind of out of words. So I did prepare something. So excuse me if I read here. But the addition of an honors component to the courses ensures that students are not forced to choose between pursuing their passion for music and maintaining a competitive GPA or class rank. Advanced music study requires high levels of critical thinking, discipline, collaboration, and time management, skills that mirror those developed in traditional honors and AP coursework. Research consistently shows that sustained participation in music strengthens cognitive development and supports social-emotional learning, including perseverance, empathy, and teamwork. Colleges and universities widely recognize and value vigorous music study, particularly when it includes clearly defined honors level expectations. This change allows academically motivated students to remain engaged in music while being appropriately recognized for the rigor of their work. So, yeah, it's definitely a bonus that this would be occurring. I know I can attest that Naomi has been doing honors level work since 9th grade. And she's a fantastic student, and we wish her well as she moves on. Come see her in the musical.
Mr. Luce is being a little humble because he didn't mention the modern band class that is. No, you're fine.
I was talking about that too.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead and talk about your modern band class.
Very interesting backstory with me. I actually started as a nursing school student. I was a rocker. I played in pretty much every garage in Holiday Park when I was in high school, but I was not involved in my high school music program. I felt I was very, very too cool for that. But nowadays, it's modern band is a thing. I was talking to somebody this weekend while I was at Pennsylvania Music Educators Association, District 1 Chorus, and the Bucks County School District actually has one teacher that teaches modern band in all of the schools in Bucks County. It's a very coveted position. It's basically, if you've seen School of Rock, it's, I mean, not inappropriate in any way, shape, or form, but it's meeting kids where they are with the music that they do now. It's drums, guitar, bass, keyboards, singing. I envision horn sections, backup singers, the whole bit. But I did write up a little bit of stuff here. Modern Band is an inclusive contemporary music course designed to engage students through the music they know and enjoy. The course emphasizes hands-on performance using guitar, bass, keyboards, drums, voice, and music technology while supporting students of all experience levels. Through collaboration, creativity, and real-world music making, Modern Band encourages student engagement and lifelong participation in music. The curriculum aligns directly with the Pennsylvania Academic Standards for the Arts and Humanities. In fact, there's a lot of Pennsylvania music educators that's putting together a lot of professional development on this. And I think it's really exciting that we have an opportunity to be on the front end of it. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
And just continuing with the arts, actual art classes, I'm going to have Ms. Piper come up because we did add a Painting 2 course, which came from speaking with students as well.
In collaboration with my colleagues, my administration, and a lot of the students, a lot of conversation with students, we took a look at some of the names of the art classes and decided, like, for example, Art 4 is now going to be called Advanced Studio Art, which makes more sense because the number 4 doesn't go with anything else prior to it. So this actually tells you what you'll be doing in Art 4 because it's a longer, it's a full class, like a whole year. We had contemporary design, and when I went around the cafeteria and kind of asked kids like what they thought that was, they kind of had no idea. So we changed it to modern art. And lastly, I'm so excited for this, but we are adding a Painting 2 class. I have several kids that have asked over the years if there was like another semester where they could paint again. So I'm super excited for that to be added to their choices. All of these things I think will lead us down a really nice path for those students who are going into the arts. And it'll help strengthen their technical and creative skills.
Hi, everyone. My name is Colleen Pegger. I'm the assistant principal at the high school. I do a lot of work with the English department, and I was a very, very passionate English student who became an English teacher myself. When I got here and I noticed that we didn't have an honors English 11 and an honors English 12, I was a little confused. I did have the opportunity to talk to some students, and a lot of them just expressed to me that they wanted the rigorous option but weren't necessarily planning on taking the AP test. Some students want that challenge but without the intensity of the AP or the pressure of taking the AP test. Adding honors English 11 and 12 will create a middle ground for our students. It'll expand access, improve course fit, and support engagement and achievement. I actually have Mr. Chisky, one of our English teachers, one of our AP teachers here to talk about kind of what the difference is and how his students felt about the change.
Hi, good evening, everybody. As far as these new courses go, when the English department sat down to design them, really there were 2 words that came to mind, and that was student opportunity. As Ms. Pegger said, I don't want to reiterate too much, but a lot of the students who had come to me this year for 12th grade AP Literature had said that they were only taking the course because it was really the only option available to them. They wanted to remain on that high academic path, a great deal of academic rigor, and yet at the same time, they weren't necessarily going into a field that emphasized that degree of academic rigor within English language arts. An honors program would have been the correct route for them. And so I did a poll of students, and this year, out of 86, I believe, 86, we only have 5 who are actually taking the AP exam. Similarly for AP Lang, one of my other colleagues, Alyssa Kelly, she had a small handful out of 122 students, again in the single digits, excuse me, who are actually taking the exam. So we wanted to give those students an opportunity to continue on that high achieving path, but put them in an area that would be a little bit more appropriate for their interests and where their future was going to be headed. If we have a student who's interested in going into medical school, they don't necessarily need to be taking that degree of a literature course, but could still be interested in something that's still high in its level of rigor. One of the differences would be, for example, if a student is in AP Physics, AP Bio, and AP Chem, maybe they could instead take Honors 12 so that they wouldn't have all of that on their plate. Instead of me assigning them 8 to 10 chapters a night from, we're coming to that book next, get ready. Instead of me assigning them 8 to 10 chapters a night on top of all of their other coursework, instead they could be assigned 3 to 4, which was much more manageable for their schedule and ultimately their success. So, anything else? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Scott Lazare. I'm one of the assistant principals at the high school, and I'm coming to talk about kind of how we started to shift our weights, not the weighted grading, our weights for honors, CHS, and AP classes. So traditionally or historically, we have had our CHS classes and our honors classes weighted at a 4.5 and our AP classes weighted at a 5.0. The shift that we made is to have the CHS courses now also worth a 5.0. Our rationale being, if you're earning a college credit, you are earning a college credit, whether it's through an AP exam or through one of many of our college and high school opportunities. Students that are sitting in those courses and sitting in a college level course should have that appropriate GPA weight reflected in their work. It's not. The other thing we're having is we have students who are sitting in an AP course that also offers CHS. They're sitting in and learning the same material. Those students would be getting a 4.5. The others would be getting a 5.0, even though they're sitting and learning the exact same material. And so looking at those changes, we want to make sure that our students who are sitting in those high level, those high rigor courses are having their work appropriately reflected. Thank you.
And those are the major changes that we're going to go over tonight. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions on this? I do like the PSMLA Global Scholars Program. I took 5 years of Spanish, but I feel like you really need to immerse yourself in the languages, and this will give our students the opportunity to do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
The business law and finance program just wasn't well attended. Is that why it's gone?
Yeah, and we actually are replacing that with the Daktronics class.
Okay.
Yep.
I would just like to add, Mr. Sarita, I just want to thank you, your assistant principals, and your faculty. It was clear to me sitting here how passionate you are about your disciplines and how student-centered you are about your approach of what's going to make our students successful. That was not lost on me, and I just can't thank you all enough for coming this evening and sharing your time and your talents with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the new board members, you're probably asking, it's January, why are we talking about the program of studies? The program of studies, if moved forward, will drive our staffing. Our student schedule drive our staffing in our buildings, which will drive the budget. And all of those will be coming up in the following months. So this is an important first step in the planning and preparation going into the 26-27 school year, is the approval of our program of studies. So I truly appreciate Dr. Zarmak and all who are here this evening and sharing the good work that has occurred.
Dr. Walsh, if I may, I wanted to say thank you to high school administration. We've gone from being dreading the day the schedules come out because the fine arts students somehow they didn't always have the access to the honors classes they needed. They weren't getting the full credits that they should get for their fine arts classes. And we've really come this school year and going into next full circle. And I'm so excited for that for the students and for what that means for our opportunities.
Okay, do we have 5 to move that forward?
Joe, did you have a question?
Oh, sorry.
I was surprised like you, Mr. Cosgrave, about business law and finance being taken away. Were there just people didn't take the course? Like how many?
So I can speak with that, because I've talked with Ms. Weber about the course. So what we found, or what she has found, is that the content and the items being covered in it weren't meeting what the current needs of like what a business and somebody going into business would have. And so when looking at what the Daktronics and what that's involved, because what they're doing with that is there's the graphics component, but they're also going to be doing a marketing component. And that's what she's overseeing with that piece. So she's tying in those business aspects and those business items directly into the Daktronics program.
Okay, yeah, so that definitely covers the business part. I would love to see more with finance, the lack of financial literacy in our children staggering. So any kind of instruction on that would be awesome.
Okay, 5 to move that forward. Okay, so we're moving on to all of our 2026 to 27 handbooks. Dr. Boyer's gonna walk us through all of them, or you're gonna assign people to walk us through?
No, that would be a lot of transitions, and you'll hear about that in the reimagining. So what you see in front of you is a comprehensive list of all our handbooks. There are 9 different handbooks represented from the various departments and administrative leads behind you. They are the experts in this space, and obviously that's why they're here this evening to answer any questions and or to celebrate their work. But what you see is a comprehensive change order from start to finish from each of the handbooks. Our handbooks initially, I would say 8 years ago, were all PDF documents, just stapled documents on paper, and so we've transitioned those to our flip books to allow them to be more interactive and engaging with our stakeholders, as well as our student demographic, and that change has followed into the program of studies, which you saw previously. Are there any questions relative to any of the handbooks that are being brought forward this evening?
I think the biggest thing for me in our handbooks is I just want to be very careful of like the different fonts and stuff that we're using from an accessibility standpoint. There are like standards around that, like using cursive and stuff like that for people that may have disabilities. So if we can just make sure we have a lens on that whenever we're putting our handbooks together.
Yeah, what you see in front of you is kind of the work at this time. What we'll do next is we'll take those handbooks and we'll scrub them before we move them into the flipbook. So more so wanting to get the content in front of you. I know there was some font and things of that nature that we'll need to go back and address, but we'll have our eyes on those to scrub those documents and have consistency in that space. It also does allow for some autonomy, so we do have consistency throughout our handbooks, but each department has their own little spin of autonomy based upon what they're presenting, but there is definitely consistency. So thank you, Dr. Richardson.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, 5 to move those forward. Okay. Now the 26-27 academic calendar.
Me again. You have the 26-27 calendar in front of you this evening. The calendar is built on a 3-year analysis of absenteeism data surrounding staff absenteeism and student absenteeism. We're looking for those hot spaces where we have that's going on. We're in the midst of construction, and so it's important that we have a calendar that is forecasting that construction schedule in collaboration with HDG, Eccles, and our construction management team. We've received feedback from all of our union groups around our academic calendar that's being proposed. And I also solicited feedback from a variety of different parents and said, hey, this is our draft recommended calendar. What feedback do you have for me in consideration? So we've taken all of that feedback and that data and presented to you this evening the 26-27 calendar for next school year.
I would say it's very similar to this year, and the feedback from having a week off for a spring break and students and faculty not having any clerical time, any professional time in January, February, or March was a challenge. I think Dr. Boyer's hit upon some of those high call-off days, not only with faculty, but students. If you noticed, I think the day after the Super Bowl, the more I've shared that with other districts, a light bulb goes off, and I think other districts are starting to look at that date. And I believe next year will be on President's Day.
It does coincide, thanks to Roger Goodell and team.
So, yes. I do appreciate the collaborative effort in moving this forward, and I think he hit upon something that we do need to be mindful of is our construction schedule, and this allows us to work around that and maximize our time between June and August.
Do we have 5 to move that forward? Okay. Next, we have the 2026 Achieve Rehab Services Agreement. Dr. Thomas, you want to?
Yes, this is a services agreement for related services in speech for a student that is attending an out-of-district facility. So we kept the contract with related services separately.
Any questions or discussion on this item? Standard, okay. 5 to move that forward? Okay. And now we have reimagining secondary education.
Yeah, I'll start to kick this off, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Boyers and Dr. Thomas. First, I'd like to say I'm very appreciative that to the school boards in allowing us to get out of our silos. It was 2 years ago that I attended the National Superintendent's Conference, and I came back with Portrait of a Graduate. And what do our kids know and need to be able to do upon graduation, and the environment in which they're graduating into. A conversation that is occurring nationally at the same conference last year are not only school districts, but boards of education at various states, some of them neighboring Pennsylvania, looking at the work that has been done with the portrait or the comp plan, and what does that mean for our students? I mean, if these are just words on the page, shouldn't we also look at the environment in which our kids learn? This is the beginning of a conversation, not only with the school board, but with our community, with our students, with our faculty and staff, in reimagining what high school looks like. Many of you have heard me say that when I graduated from Plum High School in 1987, some of the same structures are still in place, but it's not the same environment our kids are walking into upon graduation. So Dr. Boyers and Dr. Thomas are going to go through some of our thinking at this moment and some of the next steps that we plan on gathering some information. So Dr. Boyers.
Yeah, so as Dr. Walsh touched on, a couple years ago, he came back with this idea of the portrait of a graduate. What did that really mean to us? And we began that work. Throughout that work, what you see here is the work of a community effort, 80 plus members that came together with a variety of input sessions. And what we've identified here are the 5 competencies that rear their heads within hiring opportunities. And so this research was led and conducted by a consulting group, but yet more of a home-based feel of what do we want our students to know and be able to do. And when they graduate from the Plum Borough School District, what competencies will they have to exemplify their work? From that kind of set our foundation, our trajectory, is that we put together our portrait of a graduate. And we decided, with a natural fit with PDE and our comprehensive plan coming due, that we wanted to make sure that we had alignment and set a new trajectory for the Plum Borough School District. So this image, in our opinion, represents that extremely well. What you see across that bottom banner is our portrait of a graduate as that first step as our students come into our K-12 school district system. Next, you see our mission and our vision. And then that ties into our 4 core beliefs, our 4 core goals, which are tied to our beliefs. And overarching, if we're doing these things correct and we're having alignment and consistency throughout our mission, vision, and to our goals, we understand that we're having purposeful learning to transform tomorrow's learner. And so what does that look like and what does that feel like? And so this evening, you're going to hear from Dr. Thomas and Mr. Sarita and team about some of the thinking right now, but also some of the mirroring that we've done within these committees to have our portrait come together and our strategic plan come together, how we're going to kind of bag, borrow, and steal from that and get some good ideas internally and externally. So it's my pleasure to turn it over to Dr. Thomas.
So as a couple of my colleagues here assemble behind me, I think it's important to note that sort of a disclaimer, when I look at Dr. Walsh, Dr. Boyers, and I think of all three of us have come into the principalship from 3 different lenses. Elementary with Dr. Walsh, middle level with Dr. Boyers, and me as a high school principal. And one of the interesting things, and I have to say it's a geek out moment as a high school principal to look and re-envision of what the high school could be. So when we're hearing us talk tonight, maybe you can just suspend the logistical or the tactical aspects of some of the things that we're going to talk about. This is kind of a dream moment for us to present to you the opportunities for reimagining secondary education. Originally, this presentation was titled Reimagining High School, and we have shifted that lens because at some point in the process, we will be involving our middle level leaders, Dr. Zarmak and Mrs. Lintelman. But at this point, we're starting at the realm of just adolescence, of what it looks like. So the first question, a central question I'd like for us to look at is, why do we want to focus so heavily into grades 7 through 12? Well, number one, these are the students that are going to be leaving us, the learners that will be going out into college and career-ready workforce, military service, international travel, any sort of graduate work beyond their undergraduate studies. There's a lot of opportunities. And if you haven't heard it on a soundbite to this point, you would have heard it at some point very soon, that students that are graduating this year or very soon most likely will be preparing for careers that they will be vastly different by the time they hit the age of 30. So even probably closer than the age of 30. The times of having people prepare in that adolescent development and putting them on that trajectory to think that they're going to have a 30 to 35 career in the same profession or the same job does not align to the gig economy that we now live in. So when we look at these three attributes of why is our district proposing to focus on grades 7 through 12, the one is the adolescent development is where we give kids the opportunity for the best social emotional growth and to expand opportunities for themselves. We look at the opportunities of academic rigor. Instead of teaching, as you heard in the plan of studies conversation, courses that are discretely taught as math, science, English, and social studies, we will be proposing shifts to look at critical thinking and problem solving. So otherwise, you may have a course that's called, how to fix pollution of the Allegheny River. And that could be taught with a science teacher, a math teacher, and an English teacher, looking at it from three different lenses of how to solve that problem, because effectively, look at the complexities of the world around us. They are not taught just in a course called Algebra 2. And think back of the last time that you really leaned into your Algebra 2 content or your textbook from high school. I haven't. I've leaned into some skills that I've learned, but not the discrete amount of the course. And the third piece of this is, beyond the advanced critical thinking and the problem solving is, can we put kids on a trajectory now? I say kids, I probably should say young women and men. Put them on a trajectory now to be career focused and thinking about what's going to happen in those years after high school, especially if they do not choose another post-secondary option. You've heard it said many times, 20 years ago, when I was, it's more like 30 years ago now, when I was graduating from high school, dating myself there, but it is what it is. It was such a push on college, and have somebody come to your house and fix your air conditioner, it's $200 an hour. The trades have been neglected, and we have to put a focus back on career and technical education while students are engaging in academic activities. So why are we so focused? They're laser focused on grades 7 through 12. Those are our three attributes. And I do feel that this is also a time social emotionally that this is where the gaps either open or they close. So when we see gaps in social emotional readiness, for some students they will widen. We will need to have supports for them. So I'd like to guide your attention to the big 5 ideas of what you're going to hear tonight. And I'm just going to overlay them very quickly because you'll hear this from my colleagues behind me in more depth. We have opportunities for different types of master scheduling at the secondary level, particularly here at the high school, eventually to be considering our middle school campus. Demonstrated learning through real work. Rather than taking a test, why can't you demonstrate your learning through a video presentation or a performance? You heard Mr. DeLuce talk about a rock band performance. Try to put 4 or 5 instruments together, things fall apart quickly. And a 92% accuracy rate with note accuracy doesn't sound so good. It's a little bit different when you're on a performance stage. Think about that in terms of science. Think about it in terms of math. We feel that instead of having kids choose of how many courses they take, of course they can, but the times of the days, everybody should have a intentional scheduled time for flex, for meaningfulness, to focus on that goal setting, check in with staff, check in with faculties, and build with each other. We also feel the transition, of course, in our region, since we are only minutes from downtown Pittsburgh and a fantastic city, is that we should be focused on those readiness for the real world, whether it's college and career readiness, whether it's military service, whether it's international travel, any of those issues in career and technical education. And finally, we couldn't come up with a better way to title this, so we called it Tomorrow Ready. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, especially 10 years tomorrow, 5 years tomorrow. We know that there is responsible use of AI, for example. We see deep fakes. We see all sorts of things on internet content where we're going to have to intentionally teach kids more and more about being tomorrow ready and being prepared for that. I do want to enhance that these 5 options, you go back, Jen, just for one, they're interdependent, okay? They only work as a system. They're not one or the other does not matter. They only work if we have a system here. And as I transition into the next slide, Mr. Sarita is going to pick it up to start talking initially about the first of those 5, which is master scheduling.
So, fully transparent, this is what excites me about education, is having the opportunity to build and create something that is different, that is student-centered, and that is going to be best for students and families and educators. Right now, we are currently, I don't think classes have changed much in terms since I was a 2000 graduate. It's dating myself. We're still using the traditional model here at the high school. We have shortened, fragmented classes that are 42 minutes long. And you ask yourself, what does this limit? It limits our ability to go deeper into content. It creates, students that have 7 or 8 different things that they're getting thrown at them for 42 minutes every period of the day. I think we can do things differently. Deeper learning requires longer sustained time. Adolescents, they require fewer transitions. This is about going deeper into teaching and learning, not just the convenience of the status quo. So longer blocks, what do they do? They allow students to wrestle with ideas. I was talking to my daughter this afternoon. She's only in second grade at Pittsburgh, but Dad, I need help with my homework. And I was like, you can do it. You can do this. Just every time I come and help you, you understand it. I walked away for 5 or 10 minutes to get ready to come back here, and she got it. She showed me her work. I said, see, you struggled, and it's okay to have productive struggles. So longer blocks allow us the opportunities for kids to productively struggle with things, to dive deeper into the content. But to achieve these longer blocks, they would be taking fewer classes per day. Students can then focus on those things. It allows teachers to provide meaningful feedback and provide individual support, and moves kind of our processes from being reactive as educators to being intentional. And the world that we're entering, our kids are entering, values, transcripts are always going to be very important, but it also requires evidence of skill. And students need the opportunities to create, to revise, and to present authentic work. And when you think about AI blows my mind. And I think this year I've learned more about AI as an educator, as an administrator, than I've ever learned it. But it becomes a partner. I think a lot of times we're using it as a shortcut, but being intentional with artificial intelligence and teaching students how to have it be a partner as opposed, to a shortcut, and being explicit about that is a part of this process as well. I'm going to throw it to Ms. Pegger and the Dr. Lohr.
All right, so we are looking at built-in time for support to address our students' sense of wellness and belonging. We believe that those things, as two special educators, that are foundational to academic achievement for every student. Students need time to connect, they need time to reflect, and they need time to reset. Being the high school assistant principal, you wouldn't believe how many students just stop by Mr. Lazaro and I's office just to say, hey, this is what's going on with me. And people don't realize, like, high school kids, they still need that time to connect, to goal set, and for us as administrators to show and teachers to show that we're taking an interest in them.
Yeah, as Ms. Pegger said, we, within this framework, do have the opportunity to reimagine students' supports and services. And when we are able to schedule and to offer structured time that enables students to feel connected and as though they belong, we know that we can certainly increase engagement and interest at school.
When you have built-in time for support, it allows for relationship building, which leads to less exclusionary discipline. We want our kids here in school, and a lot of times the kids that are struggling the most are the kids who are being excluded from school. So if you build in this time for them to goal set, do their progress monitoring, and just have conversations with adults in the school and really show that we care, we're less likely to have to exclude them from school. And we've already seen that this year with some of our students.
In essence, this sets us up to be in a position of being proactive instead of reactive. And as Ms. Pegger said, really eliminating or diminishing that discipline factor.
In a lot of our conferences with students, we're trying to reinforce those portrait of a graduate components. We have teachers who are actually working with students. Ms. Kuhn, one of our special education teachers, I'm going to shout her out. She's been working on students on doing lessons just to help them kind of figure out and navigate that space of being a teen. I saw her teach a really cool mini lesson to some of her students about cell phone use and the harm of social media and how it affects your brain. And I just think if we build this time in, we'll be able to give students more space to practice those components in Portrait of a Graduate.
So one of the things that we also want to consider when we're thinking at the high school is aligning with, biology and development. I think I was given this slide as the former biology teacher, so I can kind of speak on some of the research that's related to it. Adolescent sleep patterns are biologically different. So when you see students tired in the morning and lethargic, it's not a motivation issue. Their biological circadian rhythm has them getting up later, going to sleep later. And those of you with teenagers at home, I know you see it, especially over long breaks. They're going to bed 1, 2 in the morning, and they're not getting up till maybe 10 or 11. And that's not because they're lazy, it's just how they're wired from a biological perspective. When we have a schedule that fights the biology, learning suffers. When you have students getting up earlier than when they're able to consistently and effectively, those classes suffer, that learning suffers. A calmer, more regulated start can improve readiness for the entire day, allows the students to get focused when they are focused, and become successful in a much more focused space with less transitions, less movement. This is about working with the science, not against it. It's making sure that when we're sitting here and building things out intentionally for our students and supporting our students, we're looking at everything, not just the academics, not just the social emotional, every part of the student, so we can make them the most successful, not just here, but in those next steps.
So we all know that learning for students is much more meaningful when the students can see it in action. I've seen it in examples in our financial literacy class of our 9th graders, our financial algebra class when they talk about, we tried to use the word ATM with them and they didn't know what that was. They when they see things in action and they have real world experiences, and it's more meaningful. And our partnerships, and we have many of them, they expand those opportunities, and we have an opportunity for those partnerships to not lower expectations, but really enhance the experiences of our students. But time is our biggest barrier, And I believe that blocks do remove that barrier. And, right now we have Career Day coming up on March 6th. February 6th. And that's been a great experience for kids. We had so many people. This library was full of different partners and business leaders and people with different jobs. And our kids got to experience it for a whole half a day almost, and they attended different sessions that really met their interests. But I want to expand on that. I think it would be great to then have a career day, for example. This is just an example. Again, we're just spitballing. But have a career day that those people that are interested in having internships come back, or job shadowing experiences for our seniors. Have our juniors attend that so that their senior year they have an opportunity. Or things like, universities have hybrid schedules. Block scheduling could allow potentially for us to start that process in high school, where they have that experience of hybrid schedules, where students have the opportunity to produce products, for science fairs or career fairs. Just giving kids more opportunities to showcase their products and what they do every day. And then to make all this happen, we have to have enhanced learning spaces. Our physical spaces must communicate what we value. So you see on their podcast, that would be awesome. But flexible and technology-rich spaces are essential so that the learning environment isn't just a room anymore, but it becomes a tool of learning.
And to bring the Tomorrow Ready concept back full circle, I encourage our board members to make sure that you check out the two videos that are linked within the slide deck. The one on the left is actually a very new movie trailer that's just released in December. It focuses on a academic and career and technology readiness high school in Winchester, Virginia, so about 3 hours away from us, 2.5. And the one on the right is one that focuses on, out of San Diego, California, High Tech High. The movie on the left is called Multiple Choice. The movie on the right is called Most Likely to Succeed. If you have Apple TV, you can find both. The one on the left is actually going to be coming out in a couple weeks. The one on the right has been out for several years. They're centered around a gentleman named Ted Dintersmith. Ted Dintersmith, a few years ago, wrote a book, What School Could Be. And it breaks up the typical stereotypes of how schools function. And so when we talk about Tomorrow Ready, I've always been taken, my breath has been taken away by this idea of a superintendent years ago said to me, Matt, if you could break down the walls and literally dismantle a school and you would rebuild it from scratch, ask yourself this question, would it look the same? And I've always come back to that answer to myself saying, no. It just wouldn't look the same. We wouldn't build it and ring bells and move kids every 42, 43 minutes. We would do things and we would look at the learning first so that learning is constant, time is variable. Because right now, time is constant, learning is variable. We want to flip that switch. And so when we think about interdisciplinary studios, as Mr. Sarita foreshadowed on the previous slide, we also have to be thinking about the learning is organized around a big idea or solving critical thinking through a problem. So next steps, where do we go from here? Which is our last slide to bring us home. I have to click twice on that because it takes you to the video. This is our implementation roadmap, and you'll see it is not time sensitive. It doesn't bind us rather to specific deadlines or times. But what it does start at the top with many of the things that we do in our school district is we start with a core team of professionals. We look at constituents across internal and external, and we bring them together. If you were a part of, it was Dr. Boyers and his leadership on the Portrait of a Graduate initiative over the past 2 years. It's a very similar process for us, but it is going to be a bit more focused in terms of looking specifically at secondary education. So once that core team is assembled, we do take that team through both an internal audit. Some of that has already started with our internal stakeholders, with our faculty. You heard some of that foreshadowed tonight through the planned course of study. We would need to then look clearly at the data collection analysis. One of the questions is, well, what academic what academic achievement data are you going to look at that's going to be radically different on the back end if you implement something of this magnitude? And right now, probably the short answer is it's hard to measure. Standardized tests like PSSAs and Keystones do not measure mastery level of learning across the areas that we're discussing tonight. When we look at stakeholder engagement, are we really responsive to what our students are asking us for, our families are asking us for, our community and our business leaders are asking us for? And finally, we dip into the research. It is difficult to find research on scheduling, different scheduling models that are very contemporary. Most of the research on concepts like block or modified block scheduling go back about 25 years. But you'll find school districts such as Fox Chapel, Upper Darby, Greensburg, Salem, 3 to name a few in Pennsylvania, many across the nation, that do things a little differently than just ringing bells. They look for longer extended blocks. One of the beautiful things about the research there is it does often come back to this concept of executive functioning. Imagine you're a student, instead of having 8 classes to be fussing with all of the time, you have 4, and at the semester you change and you get a different 4. So your focal point is only 4 classes at any given point of the year instead of having 8 all of the time, for example. Our core team will also be looking externally and looking outward, looking at different districts that serve as exemplars, looking at our community engagement, very similar again to our Portrait of a Graduate strategies, and also looking to the research from business and industry and career readiness of what we can look at. And through that process, we will bring it home. We will bring it back for a recommendation to the board. There will be many conversations between now and X, I would say. There's not an end date on this, but we felt from a standpoint of making sure that we are deliberate and educating and being transparent that this is the first step in the process. We have to show you the pathway the journey that we're about to embark upon. And I think you can see around the room the talented, esteemed people to my left and all around this room behind me. There's a lot of talent in this room, and we're going to harness it. And we're going to bring people together in order to do that in a way that's going to serve this community for decades to come. And maybe not do things exactly the way we've always done them. So, kick it back to you, Dr. Walsh.
Okay, thank you. This is not an item that is here to move forward or vote. This was informational. And as I shared with you about a year ago when I came back from my conference, and some of you around the table, I think I asked you, Naomi, last year, we had a 2-hour delay. What would you think about if we started school at 9 o'clock every day? And you had the big smile on your face, it would be great. And many of you heard me say that our seniors are involved in athletics, in the fine arts, or they have a job. And they're out till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and we're asking them to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do it all over again. I think I also asked students, as my office is at the high school, it's not unusual for me to stop and talk to students in the hallway and ask them, what would it look like if you didn't have 7, 8 classes this semester, if you only had 4 to focus on, and you could go more in depth? Oh, by the way, you'll still have your credits to graduate by your senior year, and maybe your senior year looks a little different. Maybe it's an internship where you're making $24 an hour instead of sitting in a classroom. Maybe if it's something that you're looking to go on to a 4-year college, maybe that's the time we can really focus in more depth in college and the high school or some AP courses. What about, other students that would like to travel, student travel? Couldn't we layer in student travel into our courses to have that option? It's happening now, it's happening over the summer. Why isn't it connected to what we're doing during the day or during the school year? These were just questions that I was asking, which led to the presentation tonight. And I think it's time we take a moment and revisit what high school looks like. The state has given us great latitude when they changed the law, and it said you have to go 180 days and 900 or 990 hours to OR. We already surpassed the number of days and hours, which gives us flexibility. That is why schools are looking at this. I've also, in the last year, been out visiting other schools, some high-performing schools regionally and across the Commonwealth, in regards to what it looks like when you offer support to high school students during the school day. Not before school or after, but during the day. One of the schools shared with me when they did in part of their student survey, it was the most highly recommended opportunity that the students had. It's one of the things they look forward to, is having those opportunities built into their workday. And all I'm asking when I came back to Dr. Thomas and Dr. Boyers is we need to start exploring these opportunities because I believe it's in the best interest of our students. It is no longer 1987 where it's time in a seat. It's about the experiences our students have. I would love for our students to just have an opportunity to maybe go into a hospital and shadow a nurse and realize this job, this career path maybe is not for me, as opposed to being a freshman in college. Mr. Sarita mentioned the career fair. Last year I stood in front of 149 professionals in our community and I asked them, how many of you would be willing to take on Plum students for job shadowing or internships? I think it was 135 said they would love the opportunity to work with us. Our Chamber of Commerce are our partners. And I think it's time we reimagine secondary education. So this was informative. I truly appreciate the work, but I got to be honest with you, that's the easy part, is talking about some of our thoughts of where we're going. The tough work is, how does that work with transportation? How do we staff this? How do we transition into a model from a traditional model into maybe a different model? And making sure that our kids are advantaged upon graduation. So I'll open it up if there's any comments or feedback from board members, but this is our best thinking at this moment. And before we start to have conversations with our students, with our community, and with our parents, I wanted you all to hear it first in regard to some of the conversations that are occurring on the operational side.
Just if I may, from a student perspective, I really think that it's, I know a lot of students who, or like siblings who have like gone to college and they face problems that they've never encountered before, but now they're on their own. And I think that it's important, like it's so interesting to look at high school as less of like a leap before college and more like a once you arrive at your next destination, whether it be college or trade school or going into the military, whatever it may be, you're equipped with the problem-solving skills that are more versatile in any situation rather than, like Dr. Thomas said, sitting in, Algebra 2, which are important skills, but learning how to be like a human who has the capabilities to like go through any situation that we haven't encountered yet while we're away. Like I know me personally, I'll be in San Diego and that's very far from my parents. And I would love to be able to have some skills with me that could help me be confident in my abilities to like go forward when I'm away from the people that have always like supported me and, find support in the knowledge that I've been taught. So the, ideas about like problems and trying to solve pollution, like that was a great idea. Like I feel like students would love to be equipped with really like things that they can use every day.
I just have a quick comment. I'll give like a little testimonial, right? Because I'm a 2009 graduate of Penn Hills High School, and I took all honors and AP courses the entire time I was in high school. Graduating from high school, I went on to get my undergrad and my master's degree. And I graduated with a master's degree and still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I think like things like this are extremely powerful because it helps people to identify their strengths. It allows students to fail. And I think like throughout my life, I've learned the most from my failures. So I just think it's really powerful. I think it's a good start. And you said you don't know how you're going to execute. Small pieces. That's essential because, we all try to boil the ocean, and that vision is definitely a boil the ocean vision. But I think if we take it in bite-sized chunks, we can make a huge difference to the students. So.
Anyone else?
Thank you, this is fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, I think the students are really going to like it, and I am looking forward to hearing from our community as we get them together to see what they think, because I know like there's some people at this table, it's going to directly affect our kids that are going to go through this, and it's going to affect a lot of people in the community that have little kids. So looking forward to that feedback as well.
Before we move on,
I just have one question as we're going through it. I love it. I'm beyond excited for it. I wish it could start next school year. That's how excited I am for this plan. My question for staff is, how does that affect the key students, for example? Because those are sort of based on the thought process of all school year, it's cumulative. What does that look like and how would that affect? You might not know the answer now. I would just be curious as we continue to have a dialogue, what that looks like. I'm no fan of standardized tests, and Dr. Thomas, I'm talking very loudly by myself here, but we talked about it. It's not really an indicator, but with all that said, how does that affect those tests?
Mrs. Stepnick, I think it's a good question, but in actuality, it doesn't. So we're still going to teach the eligible content. We're still going to teach the standards. It's just about the methodology, about how we go with it. A few years ago, a previous board had moved the middle school into a middle school team modality that allowed them the eligible content to still be taught, but to focus on the whole child and to allow interdisciplinary learning connections to happen from classroom to classroom to promote deeper, more meaningful learning that transfers beyond that classroom. And so we're still going to address the eligible content. We're still going to address the standards that the state legislators put in front of us, but we're going to be more flexible and more malleable due to the school code change with some of the time in the seat. And just think of more creativity, I guess, if you will, as how we approach that.
I would add, Ms. Stepnick, that, I'm going to date myself by quoting The Nation at Risk, which was a report that came out about education in America. And one of the lessons learned is that we're a mile wide and an inch deep. By having more time in content areas, it allows us to go deeper. So these are some of the things that we're going to learn along the way as we're having listening sessions. And there may be some things that are unexpected that are going to surface as we're going through this process. And we just need to be agile and open-minded and always make sure that we're putting the best opportunities and the best learning environment for our students. And I think if that is our focus and that is what's going to drive us, good things can hopefully come out of this. So.
Okay, we have nothing under athletics and student activities tonight. Finance, Mr. Stropke, lead board liaison.
So item A is our monthly budget report from December. If there's any questions regarding the budget expenditures for December? All right, seeing none, do we have 5 to move it forward? Okay. And then item B is the 2025 tax collector exoneration, including additional records for 24 and 23. And I'll just ask Mr. Zaharchek if he has anything he wants to add to.
Just very generally speaking, we're turning over about $1 million. The exoneration is to clear the tax collector of the burden of continuing to collect taxes after our deadline of 12/31. So any tax that's uncollected, we exonerate the tax collector, and that gets turned over to our delinquent tax collector. And the tax collection rate is very high. As you'll see, we're turning over less than $1 million, and from this point, it goes to a delinquent tax collector, and those collection efforts intensify, I would say, for those who are delinquent. But as of 12/31, this basically is an exoneration of the tax collector.
Mr. Hartman, do you know if everything with the transition of the tax collector office, was everything, for lack of a better word, smooth? But do we have a good handle on what that number is and knowing exactly how all that data transferred? I would just hate to see a taxpayer get stuck in limbo when we turned over their names and now they have thousands of dollars in fees.
That's a Good question, and that has arisen already. Michael Palumbo's here right now, and we are currently working through the transition with him. And we did have one instance of that happening, Ms. Stepnick, and what happened was the check was post-dated for 12/31, it was uncashed. Something happened at the bank level. So in that particular case, when those situations arrive, we'll handle them on a case-by-case basis. But in that particular case, the check was post-dated. It did not make it to the exoneration point. It did not get turned over. So through talking with Mr. Palumbo, we agreed to take that particular deposit in that situation. So Mr. Palumbo will be on site at some point this week as well. We're going to show him all the reports and all the things that we need to get up to speed. And the bulk of the tax collection's complete with the exception of the interim taxes that will be coming out soon. And we'll be working with him through the process to make sure the transition's smooth.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure he didn't need more time. There wasn't more time needed. I know some earlier date, I guess, if you will, that everything is turned over data-wise when there's a transition. So I just want to make sure that we're not getting anybody on the crosshair on the state. Maybe we needed to wait a month on that or something.
It was one situation, and I think, just working with Mr. Palumbo, we'll work through those on a case-by-case basis.
Perfect, thank you.
Do we have 5 to move that forward?
Okay, nothing this evening under Forbes Road CTC or intergovernmental and community engagement. Personnel, Mr. Caligiuri and Mr. Hill, co-lead board liaisons.
We discussed an executive session,
Okay.
so do we have time to move forward?
Okay. Policy and legislation, Ms. Stepnick, lead board liaison.
Sorry, I was going to keep drinks. The first item, reaffirmation of policy 011, principles of governance and leadership. I know some of the new members will get during their lead board member training if they haven't done it already. Does anybody have any questions or dialogue for that?
It's an annual affirmation.
Okay. And next is the first readings are we need to update how when we reorganize, we need to update the organization and the organizational charts based on our committee names, et cetera. So does anybody have any questions or see any changes there?
No, nothing on our end. You can't see us, so we're shaking our heads big.
Sorry, I apologize. Policy draft of 101, mission statement, vision statement, shared values. I know there were some internal comments made in that. And I wanted to see if anybody had any additional questions. Or if they had a chance to respond to Mr. Sloan on his recommendations.
Yeah, I did. I talked to Mr. Sloan earlier this evening. This policy is driven by our comprehensive plan, as well as the we believe statements were included in that. But some of that work not only came from the comprehensive planning committee that had a lot of external stakeholders, it also came in pieces also from the Portrait of a Graduate committee. So there's been a tremendous amount of community input over the last 18 to 24 months that lead to that policy. That's also an occasional affirmation as we make changes. Note that our comprehensive plan has a 3-year shelf life, and so this policy will most likely not change for 3 years, but it will change after that.
Are you good with that, Mr. Sloan?
Yeah, I didn't have any additional comments. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, just wanted to make sure. Policy 610 and 611 both address purchases and bids and purchases budgeted that have already been awarded for allowing, I guess, a higher dollar amount without having to come to board approval. I personally have reservations on that, but
So,
Any comments or questions with those?
yep, so 610, 611, and 626 refer to the omnibus school bill, which does change bidding thresholds, which is annual. If you notice, in this particular year, we were about 6 months delayed with the omnibus school bill on 610 and 611. 626 under federal is also due to our federal regulations, which do change under UGG guidelines, Universal Grant Guidelines, or UGG, and that is associated as well. Again, these are standard policies, but they're updated at the frequency either of the school code or federal compliance.
Is there any questions?
Most of those changes seem to be state-driven.
The thresholds changed based on inflation, and so these recommendations come to us to adjust our policies.
And everyone keep in mind, these first 6 policies are our first reading, so they will be back on next month. And that's when we will vote on them, so you can kind of digest them, and if there's any additional comments, there's time to do that as well.
Right, if there's any questions, please put that back into the comments. I just have concerns that these numbers will continue to rise, and it's not for us in general, just, as purchase orders go through and as different things change. I just have concerns overall for that. And future boards could allow. Second reading, we discussed these last month, extracurricular activities, policy 122, and then 122.1, non-curriculum related, non-school sponsored, student initiated groups. Do we have any additional questions or comments from last month? No? The draft social media policy. Anything additional? Okay. I think anyone see if there's anything else I want to cover. Okay.
Okay, I think we need 5 to move all of these items forward.
The second reading. 1, 2, and 3 under C. The second reading.
And we have to move A forward? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
We good?
Information, yeah.
Okay. That's okay. So projects and planning, Ms. Arendt and Mr. Sloan, co-lead board liaisons.
Hey, we have 2 items for projects and planning. The first one is the O Block Elementary Phase 1 and summer 26, and Phase 2 for winter 26. There's another item under there, the cafeteria furniture. Dr. Walsh, did you have anything to add there?
Sure. I have a map of the furniture. The Phase 1 is the new addition. Phase 2 is the wing near the, I believe, the gymnasium, Ms. Fight, I'm looking at her, okay. And we're able to lock in the price under 2025. This will be a savings of between 5 and 10% because the prices will be going up at the end of January. The vendor has agreed to hold the equipment until we're ready to move it into the schools. And this will be paid out of the construction fund, and the cafeteria will be paid out of the cafeteria fund. I would just ask Ms. Fight, because I know you've been very involved, your faculty has been involved, the stakeholders at O Block have been very involved in all aspects of planning. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I don't think so. Everyone's been great working. I was really nervous bringing a bunch of construction folks onto a school campus, and they definitely have the mindset that this is indeed a school campus. I get a text usually every morning giving me a heads up as to what's happening on property that day. I got my hard hat last week, so that's fun. But all in all, it's actually going way better than I anticipated. Things are moving. The dirt is mounded, the ground is broke, and Jade is communicating that we're moving full steam ahead. So we've been very fortunate and really thankful for everybody so far in this process. So.
And I think you hit upon why B is on here, the construction manager. Just for the board's knowledge, that the initial bid came in $35,000 higher, myself and Ms. Schaefer. We went through line by line. and worked with Eccles, and you can see an adjusted rate of, I believe it's $160,000. That is $10,000 less. And I think you just heard Mrs. Fite say the advantages of having a construction manager on site in regards to campus, school, working with the architects, and you know, a lot of the work, not only at O Block, but the middle school, where we're looking at the construction manager, involves a lot of technical detail. I know Ms. Schaefer is online. If there's anything you would else like to add.
No, that pretty much covers everything that they'll be doing, or just the high-intensity items that need drawings and engineering.
Yeah. And for anybody that's been around the school long enough, you know over the summer, we have millions of square feet. We have boiler rooms, we have mechanical rooms, we have fields. And Ms. Schaefer, her attention will be spent on making sure that all of our facilities are up to speed. And it is very helpful to have a construction manager, especially on these two projects, to make sure that the work is done, it's done well, and that we're updated. And you'll find that this Friday in the board report, there will be a detailed report in regards to where we're at in construction at O Block. Okay.
All right, so we covered item A and B. So I guess, is there any comments from the board? All right, do we have 5 to move those 2 items forward? Awesome, thank you.
Okay, nothing under safety and operations. Our upcoming public meetings, we have a board discussion and action meeting on Tuesday, January 27th, 6:30 p.m. here in the library. And motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second? Mark. Okay, all in favor? All right, thank you.